Yeah, he lives in Cabo.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I gotta get together with him.
Yeah, get with Dan. Great guy. We spent 3 days with him, by the way.
Didn't he write the book and
Just breathe.
oh my gosh.
We are streaming.
Okay. Welcome Facebook Live. Yeah, you got to put me in touch with him, Mike. I definitely will get together. That's awesome. I had no idea that he lived here.
And he has a big breathing festival that's coming into town called the Breathing Festival. And it's
Do you know about that, Claudia?
No.
Wow.
And where it invites all the top, top breathwork practitioners from all over the world.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's so crazy.
What kind of breath work does he do?
He's old school. He's like he's like at the core of like a lot of the foundations of breath work that you see now. He was studying that stuff years ago. I mean, he was teaching breath work to the Russian Olympic team in the 90s.
Yeah,
So.
because well, I did something with Groff, holotropic breath.
Yep.
And before that, just to age myself, we used to do primal scream. I mean,
yes, that comes from like the Osho stuff.
Yes. And it's like taking pranayama to where you get to that altered state, quote unquote altered, more aware state, and all this stuff comes out just through breath.
He studied under him. He was actually out there in Oregon during that whole time period.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he had spent some time. He was telling us about that as well. So he's a fascinating guy, and I'll be sure to make the connection for you guys.
Yeah, that's great.
Awesome.
No, that's great.
Yeah.
We'll get him on the show. That'll be fun.
Very, very interesting. There's an association that has big impact in Mexico, which is NUMA, and it comes, it departs from Groff's principles and then it goes there. It's really interesting.
Very cool.
Yeah, cool. All right,
you let us know.
We're on Facebook Live, by the way.
All right, this microphone should be working.
It is. It sounds good.
Yeah.
I have that same Yeti, by the way. Is that a yeah, that's good.
That's the little blue one. I have no microphone, no anything, no headphones. I'm lucky to have my computer with me.
I just bought this thing, so I hope it works good. I haven't.
It sounds good. It sounds good.
Sounds good. All right, we're going to start recording in 3.
Welcome to Cabomil News and Community Update in English. This is Korey Riggs along with Claudia Velo. And today, if you're listening to this on Cabomil 96.3 FM, it is September 12th. We are actually recording this on September 11th, 20 years to the day that the world pretty much changed. Wouldn't you say that, Claudia?
I would definitely say so. I think everybody remembers where they were 20 years ago and exactly what they were doing when they realized what was happening in New York.
That's right.
It's an amazing time. We have an amazing show today, but first we must talk about Hurricane Olaf. And wasn't it me that said last week, watch out for the hurricane that starts with O?
Yes, it was. So I don't know. Maybe now I'm scared of you and your predictions.
Well, it's the same thing that happened, 7 years ago with Odile, which the anniversary of Odile is coming up on the 14th, right? 14th. 7 years ago. That was a very strong, but this earthquake, ooh, I hope I didn't just predict something else. This hurricane,
City on the 7th.
That was in Mexico. But this hurricane was a surprise, much like Odile. It was actually more of a surprise than Odile because it was definitely moving away. I actually was on El Tule on the beach. I took Charlie for a walk, and all of a sudden I'm watching all these surfers, and all of a sudden it looked like outer bands of a hurricane coming. And I took the most incredible video that I'm proud of it because it's actually gone viral a little bit. But I was so surprised of this thing just came, and all of a sudden there's a hurricane coming.
Yep, that's exactly what it was. And Olaf, anybody that has children knows the movie Frozen. And Olaf is this lovable little kind of like snow guy. And so Mexicans, we love memes, of course. And the whole morning was, a picture of Olaf from Frozen on a paddleboard going by the arch. And it was all joke and fun until we realized, okay, no, it is going to be a hurricane. It is coming this way, and everybody better be prepared. And yeah, fortunately, as far as Los Cabos area goes, it moved really, really quickly. It hit land as a category 2. So there were sustained winds of right around 100 miles per hour, a little bit higher. There are some weather stations, like private weather stations, that recorded 110 miles per hour near Cabo Bello, for example. San Jose del Cabo got the most of the impact. Definitely the damages that San Jose del Cabo suffered compared to Cabo San Lucas were much, much greater. Good news within all this is that, as everybody knows, our power comes from La Paz. None of the big towers were damaged. Nevertheless, close to 60% of all users lost power. And CFE, which is the power utility company in Mexico in this area, has been working since Thursday night as the hurricane was blowing. And they have reestablished as of yesterday, well, as of Friday evening, they had restored power to 48% of the users, but they're still, I'm sorry, 38%. So they're still a long ways from getting it done. And they're asking everybody just for patience. 071, which is the number where you report power outages, was collapsed after so many calls. You can still tweet CFE Contigo. It's a way to tweet. If you already have a report and you want an update, I would recommend that you just be patient, because the update that you will get is like, we're working on it. Because believe me, they are working on it. These guys work 24/7 until everything gets reestablished. So, and I know it's hard. It's so hot. It gets so sticky. There's so many bugs, but let's just be patient, and hopefully by Monday, things will be back to normal. But as I said, the authorities also reported that there were no fatalities. So those are also good news. And in the midst of all this, kind of like a little bit reminding us of Odile. Odile, as you know, happened September 14, which was right before the Independence Day holiday. Yep. So there was that kind of like gap. Well, guess what? The government, the administration changed on Friday.
Oh.
So we
right
now,
when there was a hurricane. I don't know if that
hurricane,
portends anything scary, but
right as the hurricane was coming in, and the state's Civil Protection Commission was meeting. It was, somebody was sitting in during the first meetings because they were from the incoming administration. And then, of course, the big political protocol event was canceled, and it was a very quiet transition that took place on Friday. And so now we do have a new governor, and we also have a new mayor in Los Cabos, and we can talk more about all that at another time. But it was interesting to see that Olaf, who was at the beginning all fun and jokes, ended up becoming a hurricane, went through, it hit Los Cabos, in terms of Cabo San Lucas, San Jose del Cabo, East Cape also got a lot of wind and rain and damage, definitely. And then it crossed and it went to Todos Santos before going back out onto the Pacific. But and then now it's becoming like a tropical depression again, because it lost.
Unfortunately, there are some down power lines in San Jose, and a lot of people are saying it's 2 or 3 days, maybe 4 days before power comes back. So yes, again, just have patience out there and breathe. We're going to talk a lot about breathing in a few minutes. But really, Olaf, I have a lot of PTSD after Odile, and it was amazing to feel that again. but this was a much smaller, or should we say a nephew of Odile, because it was not a category 2. It's amazing the difference between a category 2 and a category 3/4 is what Odile was when it hit. And that's, I mean, and the damage. I drove the Cabo San Lucas yesterday. It looks pretty normal. There were tourists walking around, people doing their things. All the power was on in Cabo San. In San Jose, it's a different story. Now Tule, we're totally out of power, but it's it seems like things will get back. Well, Claudia, I want to bring in our next guest because we very excited to have Michael Rovello, and I hope I pronounced it right, Michael. You can correct me when you come on. But you and I have been talking a lot to people, practitioners, about natural immunity. And can you believe that we have done almost 8 minutes of the show and we didn't even mention COVID? This is the first time that's even come out. So we've talked a lot about pandemic and the things you can do for yourself, but we really wanted to focus on how do you get your immune system stronger. And I had the opportunity. I was in Arizona for the month of August, and I went to a place called Optimyze, and I went every day, and I was blown away, first of all, by the effects that I have personally received. Also, just by the place that has been created there. There's all these different modalities that you can go do. It's all about self-healing. There's cold plunges, there's infrared saunas, there's red light therapy. It's so cool because it's all in one place. And we actually have the co-owner, the founder with us today. His name is Michael Rovello. And again, correct me, Michael, if I'm not pronouncing your last name correctly. It might be Roviello. It's close. It's close, but just really blown away by the place, by my experience there. Just one more thing before we get Michael in here. I've always dealt with a little bit of high blood pressure, and it's always right on the edge. And probably for the last year, I take medication and then not, and then I take it. But I've been kind of stuck on the medication to keep it down. Over the last month that I went and did cold plunge every day, and I was doing 5 minutes, 6 minutes in this cold plunge, my blood pressure is now normal. And I've been off my medication for the last 2 weeks. And I also brought back a cold plunge to Cabo, a big barrel that I've been doing every day. So it's just inspired me. But anyway, that's a lot from Korey. We want to hear from you, Michael. Just welcome to our show. And we're so excited to have you here. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff today, but welcome.
Thank you guys for having me. Yeah, I'm happy to be here. And it was nice to connect with you, Korey, when you were here in Phoenix, and also learn more about you and what you're doing. So I'm excited to be on the show and share what we do at Optimyze and whatever else you'd like to talk about today.
Well, first of all, you can see if you're watching us on Facebook Live, which we highly recommend, because Michael's also a good-looking guy. You know about me and Claudia, so you can check us out. So go to Cabomil News on Facebook, but also you can check out that I have my Optimyze shirt on that says an ice bath a day keeps the pharmacy away. And Michael, tell us about Optimyze. What is it?
Yeah, so Optimyze is a human optimization center, and it falls into the wellness category. We don't necessarily do any fitness there. And we really created this idea around a lot of the modalities that we were using personally, but we wanted to take all these modalities and put them all under one roof into one place. I was personally doing cold plunges, doing breath work, and studying the Wim Hof Method, and also became a facilitator of the Wim Hof Method, and was teaching around the United States and also in Mexico too, which was a really unique opportunity. And I was also doing sauna quite a bit, but I was doing sauna at the gym. So I was doing a lot of different things, kind of a la carte, a little bit of everywhere. And because I was teaching the Wim Hof Method throughout Phoenix, we started to build this community. And the community was really inspired by the way that they felt after the workshop, doing the breathing techniques, doing cold plunges, and they wanted more. And they wanted not only more of the therapies, but they wanted more of the excitement of the community, because they were finding that they were connecting really well with other like-minded people. And it was a really getting people together to do healthy things, which a lot of times in our society, right, socially, when you get a group of people together, a lot of times it's centered around alcohol and drinking and, maybe a barbecue or, happy hour or the bar or anything like that. So it's this kind of unique way to get people together to do social things, but all be proactively working on their health. So we decided to open up kind of a retail, center where we would, get a storefront, and we would put a variety of different therapies that we believed in, that were scientifically supported, and obviously invite people to come and utilize the therapies all in one session. And that was the other big thing that we really wanted. We wanted people to get a lot out of their experience at Optimyze, because I personally have used other wellness centers and cryotherapy facilities, and a lot of it was very much like a kind of a doctor's office. You made your appointment, you went in, you did your 3-minute session, and then you left, and that's fine. But I really loved the idea of multiple therapies all in one session, so that when you left, you really felt the energy of, whether it be the combination of hot and cold, whether it was, the red light therapy, all of that combined is really what was so powerful. And then obviously creating the vibe and, the music and all of those things that traditionally you just don't necessarily get in wellness spaces. So so that was the inspiration behind it. And we wanted to show our community that these natural therapies, they work, they're effective, they are supported in science. There's good research on a lot of the different modalities that we have. And they are great alternatives to essentially pharmaceuticals. So I personally, have my own story on how I got involved in these types of therapies and how they helped me. So we really provide access to the community, education, because that was another gap that was really missing. People just had no idea how this stuff worked, what the science, the anatomy, the physiology, the theories of how these things work. People just see, pictures or videos of people doing cold plunges, and they think it's some sort of like ice bucket challenge, like you're just doing it to show the community that, hey, look at this, I did it. Mm-hmm. This kind of thing that kind of maybe comes more from like ego or something, but we wanted to show people that no, it's really an old practice. It's an ancient practice. And there's a lot of really solid benefits that come out of this stuff. So
you're listening to Michael Roviello of Optimyze, and you're listening on 96.3 FM Cabomil, or you're watching us on Facebook Live at Cabomil News. And if you are watching us on Facebook Live, which I highly recommend, you just got the website of Optimyze, which is optimyze.me. And the great thing about that is you just saw all of the modalities together. Go check it out. Michael, tell us about, we want to get into your history, and I think we're going to do that in the next segment, because it's very interesting how you got into this. But you talked about Wim Hof. Can you just talk a little bit about who that is and let people know? Because he's obviously jumped on the scene, and I don't know if our audience knows who that is yet.
I first came across Wim Hof in a Vice documentary. It was called Becoming Superhuman. And it was a really cool documentary where it featured this man who had 26 Guinness records, mostly associated with the cold. He was known for the longest swim, under the ice. He had hiked to the death zone of Mount Everest in just his shorts and no shirt. He had the longest record for being submerged all the way to his shoulders in ice for very close to 2 hours. And apparently his core body temperature didn't change. So he had all these different Guinness records, and he was very popular throughout Europe. and he had developed something along with his family called the Wim Hof Method, which was a combination of breathing exercises, mindset, kind of mindset techniques, and then also cold therapy. So I came across him in a documentary. I went down the rabbit hole. I explored more about him. I found more podcasts where he was being featured. And then I saw that he was touring the world globally, doing different 1 day, 2 day workshops. So I saw a workshop that was being featured in LA. And well, first off, I started practicing the method myself. And then I went out to see him in LA and had a chance to meet him and also connect with other like-minded people.
Oh, it's great. And I have actually been practicing the Wim Hof method for about 2 years. And I got the same feeling when I started hearing about this guy, and so much about it. He has healed himself with this method and really built his immune system. I mean, there's stories where he was injected with virus and it didn't make him sick because of the breathing, because of the cold therapy. And people thought, oh, it's just him. But then he taught people, and I don't know how many people it was. I don't have all the exact information, but they also got injected and did not get sick. So it's amazing what.
Yeah, that was a big one for him, actually, because, he was doing a lot of these great feats, and he was really gaining a lot of popularity. But I believe in 2012, they did the Radboud University study in Europe, in the Netherlands. And they injected him with a bacteria, actually. And
okay.
And the bacteria, would obviously set off all the alarms, bells and whistles to the immune system to ramp up and fight and do all those necessary things. And then, just like any pathogen, you would feel extremely lethargic, fever, all the things associated with the immune system, doing its job and working and fighting, and low energy and all that stuff. And he was able to really have influence over his immune system, doing a very specific breathing technique, and also really dampening a lot of the inflammation that occurs. A lot of those symptoms that we do feel from a pathogen is typically this, what you would call a high inflammatory state, or now you hear it's called the cytokine storm. So he was able to really dampen a lot of that, and also allow his body to keep fighting and doing its job, of course, in the background. And so that was really impressive. And, like you mentioned, they thought he was superhuman, that he was really only able to do this. And he said, no, give me a few weeks and I'll take a group of untrained students and teach them my methods and mental, techniques, and they'll be able to do the same thing. And sure enough, they had a relatively small sample size. They came down, they did a comparative study, and they were able to show that these same people were able to have similar effects that he had, which was really dampening the immune response and the inflammatory response, but also allowing the body to, do its job in the background. And they measured blood, and they measured, heart rate, and all of those different things that they would do in a laboratory setting.
Well, Michael, we're gonna take a quick break, but check out Wim Hof, and you can see him on lots of YouTubes. It's very interesting. You can do the breathing technique at home. It's very simple to do, and he has lots of instructional videos about it. But we'll be right back to talk more about Optimyze, and we're going to talk more, Michael, about your history and what got you into this. So stay with us.
Sounds good.
All right. So we're still on Facebook Live. And Claudia, I'm taking over, so you jump in. Hey, just talk about breathing. You're on mute, by the way.
I knew you were taking over, so I just.
I saw it. I'm gonna let you.
Not a peep came out of me. No worries.
No, but it'd be cool for you to ask some questions about the breathing, and we'll get into that in this next segment. But yeah, really, really cool. And I think I told you, Michael, that I just started the Wim Hof certification.
Yes. Is it the 10-week online program?
I think it's 10 weeks online, and then we go to Poland in
Yes.
February.
Also, you have subscribed to the whole thing.
The whole thing. Oh yeah, yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
You're gonna be in the same training class as a good friend of mine by the name of Paul. Paul's out of Las Vegas, and he was recently on the 2-day workshop that you guys did, which was like the advanced.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Were you on that as well?
No, I was supposed to be, and then you had to remember we had to cancel it, and then
No,
I didn't.
this is part of like the instructor path.
Oh, the instructor. Oh, yes, I was on that. I was on
Okay,
that. Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Yeah, so you guys are in the
Sorry.
same sequence, which is great.
Yeah.
You'll get to know each other.
Yeah, cool. Very cool. Anything, Claudia? I feel bad. I just took over.
No, it's good. It's all good. I love it when it's a topic that you're fascinated by and you're so involved. No, it's good. I mean, like I said, I was talking to Korey before you came in, Michael, and I've owned an infrared sauna for the last 20 years or so.
Nice.
My son was diagnosed with a really complex thing that the mainstream medicine wanted to fix with medication for the rest of his life. Was fortunate enough to find people who knew about the traditional ways to heal, and ended up with a doctor who's amazing, who was delving with bioidentic homeopathic remedies and did a lot of immune system strengthening. And infrared saunas were just a thing. NASA had just started using them for astronaut training programs and to help them build up their muscle, whatever, something like mass or something. Long story short, I can say, I can attest to the fact that using infrared saunas, yes, cure people and strengthen immune systems. And we're trained to believe that you have to work really hard to get things done. And then they tell you, okay, go into this infrared sauna and sit there and you will detox and your immune system will start to remember what it's supposed to do. And your rational mind, because of the way it's been trained, says, no, it can't be that easy. But it is. And then breath work, same thing. It's like learn to breathe, or rather remember how to breathe deeply and with intention and with awareness. And you think it can't just be like that. But if you do it and if you practice and you follow it, then yes, it can.
Well, it's an instant gratification society.
Yeah.
So a lot of the things that you just mentioned, what do they all have in common? They require like self-discipline and practice and patience. And a lot of our society doesn't have that because they want the instant fix. I went to the doctor, I took off of work, they prescribed me this, I want to be done with this and just get back to my kind of, in many cases, not so helpful habits. So even something like a sauna requires discipline because it's hard for people to sit alone in a heated room for 20 minutes by themselves without any distractions. That can be torture for some people, just to be alone by themselves without distractions for 20 minutes. So, and then
without the phone, without whatever else they got to do.
And the stress of the heat, right? The heat does create stress.
Yeah. You got to face it. So
kind of what's happening in Cabo right now, because there's a lot of people without power, and then you can't, and you don't have internet, and you don't have a way to recharge your phone, and it's hot. So let's think of it as just being in an infrared sauna.
Some detox.
Detox. It's detox of everything, overload of information.
Very good. Well, let's go ahead. We'll go back.
Yep.
And all right.
You
let me know when.
Here we go. In 3.
Welcome back to Cabomil News and Community Update in English with Korey Riggs and Claudia Velo. You are listening to 96.3 FM Cabomil, or you can watch us on Facebook Live at Cabomil News. And there's a lot of great bonus material. We just spoke with Michael over the break about Optimyze, about infrared saunas, lots of great information. Go watch us on Cabomil News on Facebook Live, or you can also check out the YouTube channel at Cabomil News. But Claudia, I would be remiss. I'm going to let you ask some questions now. So I'm going to step back and you take over. And I'll give you a hint though. Michael has a great history.
I know he does, because I have not been to Optimyze, although I would love to go, but I did see a video about him, and I know that he was in the military, and then he was part of everything mainstream, and one day decided to look and walk a different path. So tell us about it.
Yeah, very well said. Thank you. So yeah, there's a lot to cover here. So I'll just try to grab the big pieces. Yeah, I grew up in New York City. I grew up in Queens. I was raised by a single mom, and I had a very nice experience growing up in Queens. But what I like to tell people is that I lacked a lot of discipline as a young man and a lot of mentorship. And ultimately that led me to a path to find the United States Navy. I joined the Navy in actually 1999, and I went into the helicopter search and rescue program. So we did a variety of different things. I was an aviator. I was a rescue swimmer. I was also an aviation system warfare operator, which basically means we learn how to develop all the techniques and utilize the technology to track submarines all over the world. So I became an expert in hunting submarines. I became an expert in search and rescue techniques over ocean and over land. And we also trained in special warfare, which is, combat, which would be, assisting Navy SEALs both in and out of kind of hostile territory, and training to find pilots who may have been shot down or had to eject over hostile territory. So we trained at a very, very high tempo, as you could imagine, to be a perfectionist in all of these areas. And the other thing was I started to, I had positive, obviously, outcomes from my time in the military, but also had a lot of challenges that you would expect coming with this type of lifestyle. And ultimately, I started to experience a lot of different pain in my body, mainly in my neck. I had a lot of numbness that I didn't quite understand. And it basically haunted me throughout my military career, where at times it would keep me down, like not able to kind of fly. And then at times, I would be fine and functional. And I was treating it mainly with medication. So when I got out of the military, this thing continued to haunt me as well, into my corporate career. And that was the big catalyst for me, because I had done everything that Western medicine had really prescribed, whether it was medications, epidural shots, anti-inflammatory pain meds, muscle relaxers. And then eventually I got a surgery, which they fused my entire neck, and my neck is titanium now. And a lot of the neurological pathways that, control your arms, your fingers, your hands, they all stem from here. So I had a lot of neurological issues. And that was at the core of like the time where I decided to wake up and start to seek, alternative methods. Because 1 year after my surgery, I was experiencing all the same symptoms again. And then the doctors that I was working with were prescribing more medications, more epidural shots, and then recommended me for a second surgery. And that's when I said, no, I'm going to do this another way. And that's what got me into the world of alternative medicine, alternative healing modalities.
And Michael, what did you do first when you decided that, no, I'm not going to do this anymore? What was your next step? Where did you go?
Well, I was having some like kidney and liver problems at the time. I think mainly because I was taking so many pills, and it was showing up in my blood work. So the first thing that really empowered me was to find natural, basically find anything that was natural that would have a similar effect. So if I was trying to lower inflammation rather than just taking a prescription to do that, or over the counter, drug that you would take at the pharmacy, I would start to research and explore what had anti-inflammatory properties that I can take in place of. So that's kind of where I started. But I also read a book called The Mind Body Prescription by Dr. Sarno. And he opened up my mind to an idea that psychosomatic pain is a real thing, and that a lot of times we're not addressing the emotional and mental kind of aspect of pain and suffering. And that was one area that I hadn't explored. So a lot of my initial kind of research and exploration was mainly going down the road of mental health and emotional health by finding meditation, float spas so that I could, learn how to meditate, sensory deprivation tanks. I was understanding the mind and really trying to gather like what was anxiety, what was depression. I was familiar with the terms, but I really didn't know where it stemmed from, or eventually I found out that I was creating it, right? So a lot of it was actually very much focused on mental health and physical health, mental health and emotional health, because that was the one major area that I hadn't explored. And I had learned that I've been carrying a lot of things with me from my early years, from my younger days, from my time in the service, from a lot of my destructive habits. A lot of people, a lot of us humans, we have a lot of self-destructive habits. And we kind of know that, intuitively, but, we have a hard time breaking free from, maybe these addictions, whether it be like alcohol or toxic relationships, toxic friendships, all types of different scenarios. I like to say like the power of saying no. How many times you get invited to things that you don't want to participate anymore and you still go because you feel like you have to. So I was really developing a lot of these skills, which was more of a focus of going inside, learning how to go inside and not look at my body and my healing process as just this external issue. Like, oh, my body is like a machine, it's a car. I need to remove this piece, it's broken, it needs to get rebuilt, and I need to reinstall it, kind of like you would look like maintenance on your automobile. So I started to look at things very differently, and mainly from a physical, mental, and also spiritual. That was another major piece that was missing in my life. I like to say that I was working on my body, and I was working out and exercising, and I had some good habits from, my younger days and my time spent in the military. I was working on my mind in many ways because I was going to school. I got 2 separate master's degrees. I did bachelor's degree and 2 separate master's degrees. I was also doing seminars and reading books. I was learning a lot of different things, but spiritually, I was a big fat zero. I had no spiritual practice. And I didn't even think that that was an important element in the healing process. So I had to foster, a process to connect to me more with, whether you say God, spirit, there's lots of different names. So that was really important, and finding that balance of mental, physical, and spiritual balance in my life. And so I explored everything. And I will say this, not everything that I did was wonderful and fantastic. I mean, I've spent money on a lot of different practitioners where I came out of that appointment and maybe was a bit disappointed, but I really needed to know for myself, and I really needed to find out what worked and what didn't. And a lot of the stuff that we offer at Optimyze were things that were very effective, and I responded very well to.
Yeah, it's very interesting that actually, Claudia, you go. I'll save my thought.
Yeah, no, I just was going to ask how do you decide which therapies and which treatments to put together for Optimyze, and how do they complement each other? Because it, like you were saying, you've created a community, but also for those who are just now exploring the possibilities, how does that package of options come together at Optimyze?
Great question. Thanks for asking. And, there's this new term that's out there. It's called biohacking. And it's a relatively new term that more and more people are learning at. Some people self-identify as biohackers. Um, but, what I've learned about biohacking and, this type of taking responsibility for your own health kind of approach is that one thing that they all have in common is, even though they might be these kind of expensive gadgets, these things that look, just lots of technology, whether it be like a biocharger or even the red light therapy, you look at them and, they look very futuristic. One thing that they all have in common is they all are mimicking nature, and they're all helping us to get back to our ancestral ways. So even a very cool looking cold water therapy device that is flowing cold water and circulating water and cleaning the water and all of those things, but maintaining a low temperature, well, that's just mimicking like a cold river, that our ancestors used, or, and our ability to go and sit in that cold water or clean with that cold water, which is, uncomfortable, and our human race has become very addicted to comfort in today's present times. And this type of mindset of always trying to be comfortable all the time is really, I think, one of the big things that is making us sick. It's making us less resilient, and more sick in many different ways, emotionally, physically, and mentally. So all of these technologies, they all mimic nature. So that's one of the things that I always look into, are they helping us to get back to our, our more primal states? And is there good science to support that these things work?
Oh, that's great. So, Michael, describe what happens when someone first comes into an Optimyze. What are they going to go through? What's the normal, I guess, I don't want to say, what are the normal therapies that they go through if they do an hour session at Optimyze?
So when they first walk in, the most important part is really how people are greeted. So obviously just coming into a place where they feel comfortable, they feel safe, they feel welcome. A lot of the work that we do is very vulnerable work, because, there's an element of kind of letting go, especially with cold water therapy. And also even something as simple as wearing a bathing suit, in front of other people. So that's an important part, is just to make people feel comfortable and safe and, empowered to do the work. Then we educate them, of course, on, different therapies, kind of like what I've explained to you and what they do and what they're effective for. And then we have our own rhythm of how people go about the center. Although there is not an exact science to that, people can really utilize the center as they would. They have a time period to use the different therapies. And there are some days that maybe you don't want to do a cold plunge. Maybe you just want to come in and do compression therapy for 30 minutes. And maybe you want to do a sauna and then you maybe want to leave. Or some days you don't have the time for the sauna, but you want to get in and you want to do the cold water therapy. But the different things we offer is compression therapy, infrared sauna, which, is essentially heat therapy, cold water therapy, warm water hydrotherapy. So similar to what the Romans did and other cultures did, was what they call it contrast therapy. It's very common in Korean culture, also in Russian and Turkish culture as well. They have Russian bathhouses, Turkish bathhouses, Korean spas, and they do a combination of cold water followed by hot water and cycling back and forth. So we give people opportunity to do that. And then we have some other alternative therapies, such like red light therapy. And then we have this really unique device called a biocharger. We have PEMF technology, and we also have some restorative sleep device which really helps to balance the autonomic nervous system. So the approach that we take is we look at society and we figure out, well, what are the issues that everyone's having? You know, I've been doing this work for a while now, and you hear a lot of repetition. You know, you get to touch a lot of different people, and you know, everybody's unique in their own way, but you also hear a lot of common things. People getting really poor sleep, people suffering from anxiety, people having kind of being stuck in this high alert state and can't settle down and relax. You start to see all of these different behaviors that we believe that we can help to rectify with a lot of these natural therapies.
I have to say, first of all, your staff, they really know how to hold space. And from the moment that I went in there, I felt taken care of. Everyone's very attentive. Everything's clean. It's just beautiful. And the other great thing about it is just the other people that are in there. You create relationships quickly. And it's all parts of society. I mean, there's people, all different types of folks. It's not just really built people, or it's all types of folks, and they're all working on themselves. It's interesting because I had the chance to walk the Camino de Santiago and across northern Spain. And one of the things that I loved about that is everyone I met was trying to better themselves. Mm. And I felt that again when I went to Optimyze. Oh, nice. And that's the first time that I felt, and even in Optimyze, Claudia, it's so cool. There's the Tibetan flags. There's a big video wall with just nature scenes, and the music. It's Claudia does a lot of kirtan. It's great music. It's healing music. Everything in there is about healing. And just congratulations, Michael. It's such a cool thing that you've done. And I know you had one location in Arcadia in Phoenix, and you just opened up, which I was very happy about because I was staying right across the freeway, right across the 101 on Guadalupe in Tempe. And how is it going? While I was there during the month, it opened and I saw it growing. The Arcadia location is full. How is the Tempe location doing?
Yeah, it's building great momentum. It's creating its own community. Obviously, you know, these things are new experiments. So, you know, we're learning how to, you know, how things will develop there. But yeah, the momentum's being good. It's been really good. Sessions are filling up. We have, you know, a diverse group of people utilizing the therapies. There's been a lot of great, like relationships building. I can see just amongst the community. And also we've been inviting guest speakers. Like we recently had Dan Brule, and author of Just Breathe. And we have other events that are coming that will attract more education and more community aspect as well to our Tempe location.
And you also, not only speakers, but you have workshops, you have breathing workshops that you put on, right? Do you do other stuff than Wim Hof, Michael?
Yeah, so I'm certified in something called XPT as well. So I teach a variety of different breathing exercises. This is a program that was developed by Laird Hamilton and Gabby Reese. And so I do different types of pool training that does include exercise. I teach upregulation breathing exercises, things that can really get the nervous system fired up. I teach a lot of downregulation breathing exercises. I pair breathing exercises with live music to create a very ceremonial experience and allow people to, you know, learn the fundamentals and practice of having to have some influence over their state. I think that's the biggest thing, because we use a lot of molecules in our society to change our state. Oh, I want to feel happy, so I'm going to drink alcohol, and I'm going to drink so much that I don't care about what other people think anymore. And now I can be free, or at least for a little while, at least they think they might be free, you know, or I'm going to take this pill or this or that. We're always trying to change our state by external sources, whether it be drugs, alcohol, food, you know, you name it. But what I'm trying to teach people is that there is another way, and you can change your state by using simple breathing techniques. And I like to explain the science, because in the West, we're very much rooted in our mind and we want to know the science of things before we fully adopt it. But also the experience of having them go through it and then paying attention to the way they feel after they've been taught these breathing exercises. So yeah, I teach a lot of fundamental type of workshops, and then also different types of experiences as well.
Which just adds such a cool element to what you're doing there. Claudia, what do you think? Should we have one of these in Cabo? We need to have something here.
I was just going to say, we need to have one here in Cabo.
One of my dreams is to, that's so funny that you guys mentioned that, is that when I started to develop this, this center, right? I had already been doing some tours in Mexico personally. So I got to really connect with the Mexican culture. I got invited to Technological Monterrey in Monterrey, Mexico. And it was a really cool opportunity. The director of leadership for Google had hired a friend of mine, Juan Pablo, who's a Mexican Wim Hof instructor, and myself to go down there and to teach this workshop, Wim Hof Method Fundamentals, to basically 50 of their top students. I got to teach in Hermosillo. Did I say that correctly?
Wow, nice. Hermosillo, wow.
Yeah, I got to teach there multiple times. I got to teach in Mexico City. So I got to do this really cool tour and connect with people in Mexico who were open to alternative therapies. And there's this movement going on around the world, and I see this movement here in the United States, and then I got to be part of this movement in Mexico. So I always had this idea in my mind, I would love to have a facility in Mexico, because then that's a great excuse for me to visit regularly as well.
I think it should happen, and we can include a Temazcal, which is that lodge that really goes into the other extreme of Wim Hof, which is dealing with extreme heat.
Yes.
And true Temazcal, which is done in darkness. And then you really go inside, and it's like going back to the core of Mother Earth and literally feeling like being reborn. And it's an amazing experience. If you haven't done it, you should.
I have. Yes. The indigenous people, see, a lot of times in the West, we really counted out what the indigenous people had to say about healing modalities. And they used heat therapy. They used cold water therapy. The Quieros, which come from the mountains of Peru, which are direct descendants of the Inca.
Yep.
They were using the frozen cold lakes high in the Andes Mountains there to do cold water therapy. And what they would say about it is that it restored the body's vital energy.
Yep.
So the indigenous communities throughout the globe, they all have one thing in common, is that they've used a lot of these therapies, like you mentioned, the Temazcal, which in North America, they were using sweat lodge. So we've incorporated all of those philosophies just with new technology.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. We had, I brought a group of Queros to Cabo in February of 2020, and to have them work here and to connect with the local community.
Amazing.
It was amazing. It was amazing. And they were talking exactly about, it's like Wim Hof running barefoot in Poland. They do it every day. Like all of them do it every day, no problem.
Yes. Yeah. They're tough people for sure.
Yeah.
It's very well. Michael, we have to get you down to Los Cabos. It's only a 2-hour flight from less than 2 hours. Once you're on the plane, it's a minute and 40 or an hour and 45 minutes or something like that, right?
Perfect. So flights.
It's close, and we definitely would like to do this. I could even see, you talked about nature. I could see setting up something out on the land. And setting up there's something really cool that I think we could do here using the new technology, setting up some spaces for different things. But there's lots of interesting things. The cool thing here is there's a huge community of spiritual seekers that are working on their emotional, physical, mental health. spiritual health, and we would love to have you down here to check it out, and at least come down and do a Wim Hof workshop or any other breathing workshops. We'd love to have that.
I would love to do that. It's one of my favorite things is to travel and teach. I've accumulated a lot of information, wisdom, knowledge, and experience. And one of my, passions is to share that with people. So I got a unique opportunity. I'll be traveling to Ecuador in November, and I'll be working with a group down there as well, teaching Wim Hof Method fundamentals. So yeah, any opportunity to travel, see a new place, see new culture, eat new food, meet new people, and teach is my passion.
Well, we're waiting for you here. We have about a minute left, but please, if you are from Arizona, if you're in the Phoenix area, you must go visit Optimyze. Check it out. You can check out the website. We'll make sure that it's linked to the Cabomil news page on Facebook, optimyze.me. Check it out. Michael, we love what you're doing in the world. Thank you for doing that. It's really inspiring a lot. It's definitely inspired me. And I know Claudia inspires me every day, but I think she's even inspired today as well. But thank you so much for being on the show. And we'll look forward to having you back when you're down here. And when we open up and Optimize down here, that's what we're looking forward to.
I love it. Thank you guys for bringing me on the show. Yeah, follow us on Instagram at Optimyze, OPTIMYZE_me. And you can follow me as well on IG at Michael_the_ARC, ARC. So thank you guys for hosting me and allowing me to tell our story. And yeah, I can't wait to come down and visit both you guys and spend some time in Cabo.
Awesome.
Well, thank you. Listen to us next week. We'll have another show next Sunday at 6 p.m. Again, watch all of our past shows and this one on Cabomil News at Facebook Live. Claudia, another great show. Thank you so much. And we'll see you next week.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you for bringing Michael on, Korey. That's awesome. Thank you.
What an awesome guy. Have a safe week, everyone.
Take care. I'll
Catch you
see you
next
soon.
time.
Thanks
All right.
again.
All right.
Awesome.
All right.